The hosts and guests on Everything's Messy podcast are not licensed healthcare professionals. The discussions in our episodes are not personalized medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for medical guidance. Never delay seeking professional medical advice or emergency assistance because of our podcast. We encourage consulting with a healthcare professional before making any significant health changes. By listening to our podcast, you agree to the disclaimer. Thank you for listening to Everything's Messy. Hey, welcome to Everything's Messy podcast, where we celebrate the beautiful but messy life experiences that most, if not all, people go through. Get ready to embark on an exciting journey through the raw and unfiltered stories of everyday people. Here, we dive into messy realities of life, from making messy mistakes to triumphs and everything in between. Are you sensing a theme? That's right, it's messy. But this just isn't about the mess. It's about finding strength and resilience in the midst of it all. We'll explore how health, fitness, and wellness play a crucial role in navigating life's twists and very messy turns. And we'll challenge conventional systems, because sometimes the most unconventional paths lead to the greatest discoveries. Join us as we embrace the messy, beautiful, and endlessly fascinating stories. Each episode is a testament to the power of our messy journeys and the beauty that emerges from the mess. So grab your favorite beverage, coffee, sparkling water, whatever it may be, and prepare to be inspired. Are you ready? Let's get messy. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Everything's Messy podcast. I am your messy host, Sarah. Okay, so excited. We are winding down the season. Today, though, I promised a couple episodes we would get into Epstein-Barr virus and how it's related to Hashimoto's. So that's what we're going to dive into today. Really quick, if you haven't got your ticket yet, super excited for the Healing Within Permission to Pause in Irvine. And if you can't be in Irvine, you can join us virtually. So make sure you check that out on my website and or on Instagram. It's going to be great. We're going to be talking about burnout, my 3M method. We're going to have Jessica be leading us in yoga and soft movement. You don't have to be a yogi. She's going to just be able to teach us some things that we can take with us and do at home. It's going to be really great. Epstein-Barr virus, and how does that relate to Hashimoto's? I mean, could it be the missing piece of our Hashimoto story? Yeah, I've got tons of notes here. I'm not going to make it too sciencey, but there are some things that I think are worth mentioning when we're talking about, autoimmune disease, chronic illness, and how they can sort of all be related in a lot of ways. So, Epstein-Barr doesn't cause Hashimoto's. I want to be really clear about that. But it could be a missing piece to your Hashimoto's journey. So I really want to make that distinction. So, okay, this is crazy. And I think this is one of the things that kind of draws me in because, again, I'm searching for answers for myself and for you guys, things that I can share. And that's really what I'm just trying to make sense of this mess, right? So, okay, so what if I told you the most common virus in the world never actually leaves your body? Okay. In fact, nearly 95% of adults have been infected with it, and researchers have spent years trying to understand whether that same virus could be connected to autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's. Right? So I think when we speak of Epstein-Barr, people go, oh, herpes virus, but there's a lot of different HPV or EBV1. So I'm specifically speaking today Epstein-Barr, just so we know that. So, and I've been hearing more and more conversations about EBV and Hashimoto's. And so I want to separate what we know and what we think we might know about it and kind of just talk it out that way. It's actually one of the most common viruses in the world, like I mentioned. And how do you get it? Usually as a kid, right? Mononucleosis. There are some childhood illnesses that weaken our immune system to where we're more susceptible to contract it. And then sometimes you get it, you never know you have it. It's just going to be dormant, right? So once you have Epstein-Barr, most people can't clear it from their body. It actually never leaves their body. Some people can, but a lot of people, it just lays dormant. Think of it as a campfire. It came into your body, it spurred everything, flamed everything up.
And a lot of people like to say it goes to sleep. I like to think of it as there's hot coals that are still smoldering somewhere. And sometimes it's going to flare up and that fire is going to come back. And sometimes we're just going to keep it really, really low and it's just going to simmer, right? So, we know that if you continue to spark it or if we throw more wood on it, right, those things can be stress, lack of sleep, illness, trauma, and immune dysfunction. So that's stoking the fire if you already have EBV. So then you introduce Hashimoto's, which again, you don't necessarily have both, but they are connected in some way. And again, we talk about Hashimoto's. It begins by attacking thyroid tissue. Here's something interesting. Scientists have noticed that when they're doing their autopsies and things like that, they found Epstein-Barr inside some thyroid tissue and immune cells of people with Hashimoto's more often than expected. So does that prove that Epstein-Barr caused Hashimoto's? No, but it raises some really good questions, and that's what we're trying to do today. So it's very often said to me, well, if you have one autoimmune, then you're more susceptible to get another. And that's true. And that's kind of the connection that I'm making today. Even though EBV is a virus, it's weakening that immune system for us to be susceptible to bring in more autoimmune diseases. And that I think is a very interesting piece. So a lot of scientists are saying, well, if 95% of people have EBV, why doesn't everyone get Hashimoto's? So it really does depend. And again, this is because the autoimmune disease is rarely caused by just one thing, right? We've got genetics, hormones, stress, pregnancy, environmental toxins, gut health, nutrient deficiencies, and eventually all of these things, if we're susceptible to all of these things, it's going to, carry over and boom, now that we have the virus, now we have an autoimmune condition. And they're fighting with each other, they're taking up space, and we're not healing correctly. So these are the things that I talk about. And this is across the board, again, why I'm such an advocate to do these things and why it's important, right? So we can't completely eliminate it, but we need to be supporting our immune system in a way that reduces the campfire or the smoldering, right? So sleep. Right? How many times am I just beating the dead horse of prioritizing your sleep? Stress management, same thing. We need to be making sure we're taking those mental breaks throughout the day, throughout the week, unplugging from our phone, getting our mind quiet. Whatever you're choosing to do, we need to be prioritizing that. Of course, blood sugar control. I'd like to say that I'm an expert in it, but I saw a meme the other day. It was, how come when I get out of bed and I put my right foot first, my blood sugar's fine. But if I get out of bed and I put my left foot down first, then all of the numbers change. And that's really, really the truth. Type 1 diabetes, you can be doing the same thing every day. And I do recommend that for the most part. But we've talked about even a hot shower. Like I said, putting the left foot out instead of the right, whatever's going on, there's no rhyme or reason. There's just no rhyme or reason. Trying to lower our inflammation, vitamin D deficiency, selenium, if it's low, and with a lot of people, Hashimoto's, it is low. Movement without overtraining, rest during flare-ups. I've just continued to repeat in my mind, I do not need permission to rest. I do not need to say I've earned my rest. Resting is a crucial part of healing our body. And if we negate it, if we, push it down the low priority list, we're only hurting ourselves. I'm not talking about, laziness and not being productive and just hanging out on the couch all day. That's not what I'm talking about. Although there are some days where complete rest is needed. You should also be filling your mind though, instead of, scrolling or watching TV, those kinds of things, reading, still getting your mind right, doing those kinds of things. It's really the true rest and the quality of the rest that we're getting that's important. The wellness world loves simple answers. I try to bring you answers in a simple way. I really do. So they always say this virus causes this disease, this supplement fixes it, but our biology isn't that simple. our biology not only is very complex, it's different for everyone. And I think it's really important to make the distinction here that, again, what works for you may not work for me, and that's okay. And that's why we continue to try and be our own self-advocate. We try to educate and learn these things. I try to bring it to you in a way where you can go, oh, I'm going to try that, or that's not for me. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing here. I'm just simply talking about the parallels between Epstein-Barr virus and Hashimoto's. So the other thing I want to reiterate too is our body isn't broken. It's actually doing what it's designed to do. And that's trying to adapt and overcome these invaders that come into our body. And we're still going on. And now we have to pivot and try and do, different things that's going to work and help keep that immune system on the best it can be on the front lines. But our body is amazing. It is adaptable. It does do the things. And that's the other thing that I want to bring up. It's responding to years of information. And quite honestly, your body has learned, if you do have EBV and or Hashimoto's, it has learned to live with it. So I think the question is not how do we get it out of our body? How do we eliminate it? Although I think that's important too. But I think the question is what do we feed our immune system to keep it low, to keep it dormant, to keep it quiet and not be so disruptive? Again, those things I mentioned earlier, sleep, movement, nutrition, all of those things are going to help us keep that quiet so we're not having these flare-ups. Because I also feel, the more we're taxing our body, the more we're stressing it out, the more we're going to have these flare-ups. And I think that's a very, really important part to talk about. So let's get into really quick, what does an EBV flare-up, what does that look like? Let me get just through my notes. Okay. So what does an EBV flare-up or reactivation feel like? And again, many people don't notice anything. They have the virus. It doesn't affect them. They probably have a super strong immune system. That's great. Some of us don't have that. EBV can reactivate silently, meaning blood tests may show activity without obvious symptoms. But for people who do notice symptoms, they often overlap with symptoms that can occur in many other conditions, including Hashimoto's. We talk about Hashimoto flare-up. And so that's why it's, difficult to know the difference, what is causing it. But so here are some the most common symptoms. Persistent or unusual fatigue, often the biggest complaint. Okay, now, if you have Hashimoto's, if you have thyroid issues, that fatigue I've talked about is none other than I've ever experienced. But how do you know which it is? I don't think you do unless you're going and getting your blood work done. And you're specifically asking them to test EBV. Brain fog, difficulty concentrating, swollen lymph nodes, especially in your neck. Now, again, with thyroid, that can also be the case, and sometimes goiters that are in your neck. So again, it's really hard to discern. But here's one thing that I think is very interesting. It's a sore throat without a typical cold, a low-grade fever, muscle or joint aches, headaches, feeling run down for weeks, and needing much longer to recover after illness or stress. Those are very specific, especially the sore throat without being sick and a low-grade fever. And it's almost like it's low-grade flu symptoms with, your muscle and joint aches as well. So that's really important to kind of hone in and see what you're really feeling. And then some people also report poor sleep, obviously, reduced exercise tolerance, and just general, I don't feel like myself. And I feel like that's really important, especially for women. Women, I think for so long, especially myself, I felt bad for so long. And again, my body adapted. I didn't realize how badly I felt until I feeling better. And that's a crazy thing to me. Again, I'm not trying to come at you with all of these scientific things, but I do think it's important to get that Venn diagram out again and see how it fits in the middle with Hashimoto's, EBV, and just another thing we can keep an eye on. Maybe you were experiencing a sore throat and you have Hashimoto's and you couldn't understand why you were having a sore throat. Maybe now you can, go research some more and see and maybe have a conversation with your doctor about getting tested with it, right? And again, these symptoms are real, but they're also nonspecific, like I said. And that's why it's hard to diagnose EBV alone with just the symptoms. Why does stress seem to matter? When we are under prolonged physical or emotional stress, cortisol patterns change, although immune surveillance can become less effective, and latent viruses may have a better opportunity to become alive. That doesn't mean stress causes EBV, although I feel like it is the link to everything. So again, we talked about what can we actually do, right? Sleep, blood sugar regulation, managing chronic stress, rest during burnout, nourishing your body. And so I hope people aren't fast forwarding until they get to the part what they can take, because this is, again, it's really giving our body those foundational things it needs before we start adding these supplements. But where do supplements fit? There's some stuff all over social media right now of EBV. It's become very popular to speak about, again, with the link to Hashimoto's. And again, supplements are the supporting factor or actor, not the lead role, if you will. But let's just talk about a few. Okay, so let's talk lysine. Lysine is an essential amino acid, meaning your body can't make it. So you have to get it from food or supplements, the building blocks of protein, as they refer to amino acids. Lysine is involved in building muscle and collagen, wound healing, immune function, and calcium absorption. So there's some things out there, especially all over social media right now, that they're talking about. Lysine being one of them, monolaurin being another one. But there's some other things that we should be taking as well. Again, making sure you have a baseline and knowing what your limit or your levels look like. But there's some, and again, this is supporting it. Vitamin D. We always talk, it seems like low vitamin D levels are linked to a lot of this. Zinc, vitamin C, selenium, omega-3 fatty acids, because omega-3s help regulate the inflammation. And then probiotics, of course. So again, we're not killing EBV with these. We are supporting the immune system with these. And I think sometimes we spend so much energy trying to eliminate something when we should be supporting. And then the other thing that I found interesting is arginine. So we've got monolaurin, lysine, and arginine. And there's a misconception out there that I kind of want to break apart right now. They say that people with type 1 diabetes can't make arginine. That's actually a common misconception. We can make it, but however, researchers have found that people with T1D may have altered arginine metabolism. So for example, higher oxidative stress, increased breakdown of arginine, and reduced nitric oxide production in some individuals. So these changes may contribute to blood vessel dysfunction, cardiovascular complications, and reduce endothelial function. But that's different from not being able to make arginine at all. So we want to make sure we're making that distinction. And I want you to be your own health advocate and go ask your doctor and make sure you're doing your research, right? Okay, so I mentioned monolaurin. This one's kind of fascinating. Monolaurin is a compound made from lauric acid, which is a fatty acid naturally found in coconut oil, coconut milk, and breast milk. Scientists believe monolaurin may help disrupt the fatty outer envelope surrounding many viruses, bacteria, and some fungi. So imagine that EBV has its winter coat on and it's hard to go deep into the cell and penetrate it to, eliminate it from our bodies altogether. Monolaurin sort of breaks that fatty acid coat around it so we can penetrate the cell. And because EBV is an enveloped virus, researchers have wondered whether monolaurin could have antiviral effects against it. So we've got arginine, monolaurin, lysine. We've talked about how it's connected. Again, that Venn diagram. And, a lot of things that are connected, not necessarily caused by each other. But again, if you're dealing with a weakened immune system, when we're learning that EBV has this fatty layer over the cell, and it's really hard to, get in there, get the cell healthy and replicate it. And that's really what we're trying to do. Again, this is messy. Healing is messy. I feel like sometimes we spend so much time looking for that thing to fix us, that we forgot healing usually happens in layers. So if we fix the sleep, we fix the nutrition, we fix the movement, we fix, start going mitochondria, all these things up, we're getting those layers checked off. We're leveling up. Like I've said before, it's sort of like a video game. We're leveling up. There's probably isn't just one root cause. There probably isn't one magic supplement that's going to fix it all. And we want healing to look like we're reducing the burden on our body. I'm all for cures. I would love to say we have cures for everything, but really the reality is, especially someone who has lived with type 1 almost her whole life, it's really learning to reduce the burden on our body. Does that mean we don't push ourselves? No, but that means that we take very careful time and attention to learn our body, to learn what it's telling us, to learn how we're feeling, to be in tune with it, to give it what it needs, not self-abandoning. I have my family. I want to take care of them, but I'm going to take care of them so much better when I'm taking care of myself. And all of it's connected. And being in a calm environment. And again, days get hectic, stress happens, life happens, but we want to make sure that we've built in these little mini breaks. We've built in our mindset on how we can, get to it. And we're not self-abandoning over and over and over again just to get to the finish line, because that finish line looks like we're completely collapsing into the bed or into the couch, getting up and doing it over again the next day. It's not going to go away. It's learning to deal with it in pieces. It's learning to serve your body, unburden your body so it can heal even through the mess, even through the chaotic craziness of life. And that's really the most important takeaway that I want for you today. But I will leave you with this for today's messy moment. Instead of asking yourself, what supplement do I need, right? What's one thing I can do this week that helps my immune system feel safe? What does that look like? Going to bed 30 minutes earlier, taking a walk, saying no to one commitment. You just can't say yes to everything. Eating a nourishing meal, which we should be doing 80% of the time anyway. This kind of ties into just what is the thing that you can do this week that helps your immune system feel safe. Feel safe. The word is safe. So that is what I have for you today. I think it's fascinating. I think, again, it's all interconnected. One doesn't necessarily mean the other, but it's worth a second look. And that's what we did today. So I hope that this helped in some way. Hopefully it's clear as mud and everybody's shaking their head. And let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'm trying to break down the information for you, try to simplify it, try to make you go, I need to check that out. I'm completely and utterly humbled and appreciative that you listen to Everything's Messy. And as always, keep it messy.
Thanks for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Whew, if you made it this far, give yourself a gold star or at least a nap. Honestly, if you showed up today and you were listening, you've already crushed it. I'm so grateful for you listening. If anything hit home, share it, tag me, write it on a sticky note. I don't care. Just don't keep all of this messy goodness to yourself. You can find me on Instagram at Everything's Messy Wellness or over at my website, everythingsmessywellness.com, where I've got resources, coaching, and probably a new rant about blood sugar or something that's just nonsense. It's all waiting for you. Check out my YouTube channel. I've got all of my podcast episodes up there. And I'm on X at Everything's Mess. Or if you just want to send me an email, Sarah at everythingsmessywellness.com. Look, until next time, hydrate, take no crap, and as always, keep it messy.